New Thought Media Network proudly presents It's All Love, Wednesdays at 4 p.m. Mountain Time, 6 p.m. Eastern, with Laura Mock, Maria Hartman, Wendy Ann, and Lara Brzezinski. It's All Love, a space where we open into the heart, tap into the soul's deep wisdom, and enter into the energy of love, truth, presence, and joy. It's All Love, Wednesdays at 4 p.m. Mountain Time, 6 p.m. Eastern.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to It's All Love. You've got your two Lauras today. Again, you know you. I am out here in North Carolina. Laura is out in the beautiful Colorado. I bet it's cold out there right now. But we are so excited to have you all join us today for, we've got some great things to talk about today. I was oohing and ahhing right before we pushed live, like, oh, some good stuff. So this podcast is all about love. It's tuning into the vibrations of truth, love, presence, joy, which to me, I feel like all those things come together in joy. And we speak from our heart. We invite you to come in and share questions, ahas with us. What's on your mind? We have some very specific topics sometimes that come up, and then we go with the flow of what our own ahas. We may share our experiences with you, but we'd love to hear from you as well. So again, when we are coming into the idea of truth, presence, love, and joy, what is the big thing that stands out at the very beginning of everything is presence. Presence to tap into the love, the truth, and the joy. So because of that, we begin with a meditation, a guided meditation, to bring us into that space and to help our vibration rise into who our authentic selves are, the source that is within all of us, the divinity. And so, again, let's start with just a little small meditation. And then Laura and I are going to introduce some ideas and things that we've been thinking about and talking about. Both of us are practitioners, and we both are on the journey too. And so it's just combining all of this beautiful soul wisdom into one place and knowing that we are representing you all as well. So we invite you to join us for just a few moments of getting tapped into being here right now into our body. So I invite you, if you're comfortable, some of you may feel comfortable closing your eyes and just become aware that you are breathing. It may sound simple, but oftentimes if there is stress or rushing around, we can forget to pay attention to the conscious breath, and we can find ourselves holding our breath. So allowing yourself to become conscious of the breath. And if there's a place in your body where you just know there's a place where that breath feels like it almost stops, or there's a place of resistance, I invite you to put your hands on your body, or that place where you feel like the breath is needing more attention and presence and love. If you are in a place where you're breathing straight through, it's going directly to the ground, coming back up through, we just invite you to continue to be in this space as everyone else comes back to the sacred temple of the body. And again, when we're becoming present and bringing energy to those spaces in our body that may have felt neglected, or we weren't even aware of any tension or resistance there, what are you doing in this moment? You are here right now, offering yourself care. You're nurturing yourself. You're loving yourself. You are saying, I'm worthy of being here right now. I'm worthy of growing and learning. I'm worthy to tap into my soul's wisdom because, yes, you and everyone else has soul's wisdom. And as you breathe, the presence brings out this love, this truth. A few more deep breaths as we invite you back into the space with us. As we are, there's no such thing as time and space. We are all here present together, no matter if you're listening to this live or later. There's so much love here for you. And so we invite you back into this space of love, truth, presence, and joy. And we know it's so, and so it is. So, welcome again. So, Miss Laura, I always have to take a moment when I'm meditating to come back in. So, Laura, we were having a really interesting conversation that really spurred from a conversation we had on Sunday with a small group of women, well, and a man in there, sorry, where we were the topic of the difference between the instinctual reactions to things. I want to call Wendy, who's a part of this podcast. Wendy was the one that really framed this in such a beautiful way. And again, we were talking about the awareness of the instinctual mind, the reaction, the survival mind, the survival instinct, so to speak, versus in discerning the difference between that and intuition. And intuition, I think about a lot as tapping into soul's wisdom, source energy, being one in that. So this is going to be a little bit of the lead-in topic of um, the awareness of what this is. And Laura has some phenomenal, really great, easy ways to remember and to empower to begin this journey of discerning the difference between the two. So, Laura, do you want to jump in there and share a little bit? And you did such a great job at even defining, even right before we started live, defining how you define the instinctual or the instinct mind, or that mama, even we call it the mama bear mind.
Yeah, like so everything it starts with our own personal definitions. We can go to Webster's, but then what does that mean to me? And an instinct is that survival. So it's for ourselves. What is my body instantly like, oh, there's danger. So simplest example, um, there's a hot stove, you don't know it's hot, you put your hand on it and you can feel the heat and your instinct says, you take your hand off the hot stove. Or the mama bear, when I see my child is in danger and I just react without thinking, right? The little child goes after a ball that's running into the street. Mama bear just runs, grabs the kid, right? There is no time to think. It's just the instinct, the reaction.
Right.
And again, talking with that mama bear, there's times when the child's on the playground and we want our kids to be safe, but at the same time, they also we want them to have the opportunity to learn and grow for themselves. So it's, do I not let my kid climb a tree because they might fall? Or, okay, I want my kid to be safe. How can I support my child in learning to climb up the tree and down the tree? Because that was fun when I had young kids under the age of 5 learning to climb this tree. But then I was supporting them and climbing back down and not allowing them to succumb to their fear of, oh my gosh, I'm so high, get me down. Right.
Right.
So that instinct, yes, it's there to keep us safe. and it is that reaction. However, there's times where that instinctual is, oh, I'm not safe, I'm going to run away, freak out, yell at somebody. We're now adults to say, wait a second, in this current situation, am I really not safe? Right. And that's where we had been talking about when we're young and we don't have a full picture awareness, we don't have emotional and intellectual awareness where something happens. And so we discern, I need to do this to keep myself safe. So, for
Right.
example, in households where there's physical abuse happening, some kids might, I have to hide, I need to not be seen, I need to make myself invisible. And so the instinctual behavior is, when someone is being loud or it looks like they're going to hit, it's hide, make myself small. And so then as we grow, that's our pattern, that's our instinct. And sometimes we, quite often we layer that over top of situations that, wait a second, that person is just being loud, but they're not going to hit me, they're not going to hurt me.
Right.
So that's the instinctual, where our brain is just in the moment,
Right.
and reacting. So then that leads to what we had talked about, the difference of our intuition is, but what is our gut saying? What is
Right.
our heart saying? What is our body saying in that moment? So
And
I'm going to
again,
pass it back to you.
yeah, and again, it's like, our gut, if that awareness that we're not in fight or flight, our gut is going to sometimes be an instinct that is not necessary. Like that, like I said, the punishment doesn't fit the crime, or it's a
Right.
overreaction because you've been stuck in fight or flight for so long. So going back to a couple things real quick. One, just we used to, Wendy, Maria, and I, because we're all in North Carolina, we all met at a nature-based charter school down here, and we had chickens, and it was a very much about. It was called the chicken school too, but it was all about helping children trust frankly, their intuition. And if a child, we let children climb trees, of course. And the message to the parents and the research is, if a child can climb a tree, thanks for the thumbs up out there. That may be Wendy and Maria too doing that. If a child can climb a tree, they actually, if you can get up it, you can get down. And so I love that you use that analogy, because it's there. And again, the instinct mind, like, don't put your hand on a hot stove. There's instincts that come with us being a human that we need. So we're celebrating those instincts. That is in those, if there's a crash or something, your body goes over into instinctual mode, because again, it is survival in that moment. What happens in society? So we're honoring that part of us, and this goes back into honoring the little girl, little boy inside of you, the little person, the little child inside of you that literally did feel like they did have to go hide in the closet because things weren't safe. That was their instinct, and we celebrate that instinct because that is what they needed to do. So that's how you can begin to acknowledge that instinct. As you can see, what happens if we grow up. When we grow up, then we get in that you're stuck in fight or flight. And again, sometimes, I'm not talking about, let's say you aren't in an unsafe situation. That's what Laura was talking about. Because we haven't had that awareness yet, we are reacting from this instinct that, like when you said earlier, like that mama bear, we're trying to protect our children. But are our children in all times, do they really need protecting in that moment? Is it do or die? And sometimes we're projecting, a lot of times parents project either what they didn't have as a child or just more of what they had as a child, right? So the message we're giving our children when we're reacting in fight or flight with them, mama bearing, I have 2 children. Laura has kids. We've all been there. So there's no judgment. And I'd be curious, for those of you out there listening, think about those times. If you're a parent, you don't even have to be a parent to have a mama bear inside of you. You don't have to be a woman to have a mama bear inside of you. You know that. So be thinking about times where you reacted. Was this a fight or what was this, do or die? Was I, what was it? So be thinking about those moments. I definitely can give you tons of examples in myself. So then when we give that message to our children or to someone else or whatever, we're saying, I don't trust you. You're not safe. And then we haven't developed that inside ourselves. So what we're here to talk about today is exactly that. So be thinking about out there, where do you get confused between, is this an instinct that's healthy for me? Or is it the instinct of fight or flight, and I'm even accidentally self-sabotaging myself? And then what does it feel like? And those of you out there that have had this experience, when you begin to be aware of it, what does intuition feel like versus the fight or flight instinct? That's what we're talking about. Of course, don't put your hand on a hot stove. That is the correct instinct. That's when you're not thinking, you're reacting. But not all situations are survival, but our human society has created that a lot for us. So be thinking. I would be curious if anyone, the thumbs upper out there, there's ways to comment. I'd be curious to know what you all think as well. But Laura, can you go into what we naturally went into earlier with that instinct? Where does someone start if they're like, I know where I'm starting to sense or become aware that I'm in fight or flight a lot, and honoring why, but knowing that I want to create a different pattern here. I want to create we're talking about algorithms earlier, but what can you go into your advice? It was such solid advice.
Before we do that, it's recognizing that, what are my patterns, my habits. We had talked about
Yes.
the track on a record, for those of us who are aware of what a record is.
I would like to see thumbs up of people that know what a record, who had a record in a record player, and how frustrating it was when it got scratched. But Laura has a great analogy for that today. She has a way to find the positive and the negative. Go ahead, Laura.
That this our brain scientists now have a name for it, right? It's the neuroplasticity of our brain, that when something happened when we were little and we made an instant decision, the track got laid. So it's like on a record player, there's the groove that the music plays in. And we just keep assigning that same reaction all throughout our life, even when we grow up. And so something that remotely feels unsafe looks like this, then we just follow our record player track. And the idea is we want to learn how to scratch across that record player in that moment, so that we don't continue down the groove. And so that looks like, for me, uh, being the youngest of three, and my dad had a loud voice and he had a temper, and I learned that it was safer to not speak up, to not use my voice in situations. So that would, maybe then his anger, his temper tantrum wouldn't keep going. And so that was where I learned, in a lot of situations, I'll just keep my opinion to myself. And
Right.
so over time, I had to recognize that even if something I disagreed with, or that was just flat out rude. So a lot of times women are taught, just keep your opinions to yourself, right? In general, women. But in this situation, recognizing that my pattern was to hide, to shrink, to not say up, so that so whatever that anger, that frustration, that authority, it didn't keep going. And so that was the instinct. The intuition was when my gut said, no, this isn't right, you need to speak up. And so it's that moment of listening to the gut that we stop, we pause. We have a number of different words for it, but whether we go the three A's or the three P's.
I like
And
them all.
yeah, so we'll start with the P's. The three P's are pause, right? And science is showing that the most powerful pause you can do in any given moment is to take a breath,
Yeah.
because that is the starting the scratch across the instinctive of pattern and say, wait a minute, let me look at this from my adult perspective. Is this really true, without actually going down the whole intellectual conversation in your head of, but it's just pausing, it's and
Yeah.
stopping. And then
I
the
have an idea. I want
yeah,
you to pause there for a second.
okay.
For those of you who are listening now or listening later, so she's getting ready to go through this really powerful process of giving structure, giving support for doing this. So as she's doing this, if you're listening now, and this could be, you could be reflecting on something that's been in the past, or maybe something that is bothering you right now. Maybe you have a trigger right now. Maybe it's global. Maybe it's very personal. But as Laura is going through this process, I would encourage you, because this is where the talk becomes very practical, is be thinking about something that's bugging you or causing you sadness or resistance or something right now. And then you can even get a journal out or just be really present in the moment while she's talking through it. So she's going to talk to you like you've told her what the topic is, even though they're very specific to you. So thank you. I just wanted to give that because I think that can be really powerful to take this and make it very personal, even if we don't know exactly what your stuff is and isn't. Yeah. So, okay, Laura, continue. So start with that. Like, it's the pause. It's the pause.
It's
The
pause,
breath. When that
the breath.
topic comes up and you're triggered, the instinctual mind kicks in and you're triggered. You're feeling it. Laura is saying,
And yeah, and I'm gonna actually go to the three A's first, because it and then because the P's are more the practical, is like how
yeah,
you, but what we talked about, the three A's, is the first is your awareness, is like, oh, wait a second, I am about to run away, hide, bite my tongue,
react,
be angry,
angry.
shrink,
Hmm.
right? Or yell and react and get mad and stomp my feet, whatever. that it's the awareness of, oh wait, I am about to.
Yes.
And then the second we talked about, the accountability, is you're bringing your attention to what you're about to do, and so you're bringing your accountability, claiming responsibility, connecting to yourself, to like, oh wait a second. And then the third, so we're still playing with this.
Yeah. That's good though.
But the third is then, okay, what do I want to do in this moment? What do I want to do differently? Is this really how I respond? How could I respond differently? And so it's the activation of doing something else. It's taking a different action. But everything starts with the awareness. And that's what we had started our conversation with, Laura and I, before we got on camera, is that awareness. And that awareness sometimes comes from the gut, or the body, like starting to feel the anger when it tenses, and say, oh,
Right.
wait a second, my whole body just tensed up. I can feel. And so we're bringing our awareness to how our
Right.
body's responding. And that's the difference between the instinct, is our brain, like that. Our
Right.
intuition is our body's response. And so the framework, when we're just talking with the A's, is the awareness, the accountability is then, what am I going to choose now? I'm going to choose. I'm going to
Right.
be accountable for my next action, thought, voice, what I'm going to do. And then the activation comes with, I'm going to take action
Right.
differently. And that brings us to the other, that they go side by side, but it's just a different way of looking, is the pause. I call pause, plant, and pivot. And so you're pausing. in that awareness, you pause.
Right.
And then and I literally invite people to put your hand on your chest. So you're planting yourself into this now moment. And as Wendy would say, you're being present to yourself, to this moment. And I even think about planting my feet. It's like, oh, I'm going to bring my awareness. So I'm planting myself in this moment and then in that breath. And I keep doing this with my hand. I don't know if you can see it, because what I'm realizing is I'm coming out of my head down into my body, down into my heart. And then the activation is I'm pivoting. I'm going to do something different.
Right.
And not yell. And I had for myself, I had 2 instances within a week where my intuition, or excuse me, my instinct took over, and I verbally expressed my frustration, and I could feel it, and I'm like, "Ugh." And then a week later, a very similar situation happened, and I recognized, because I had gone through the process of like, okay, you overreacted. Here's what you could have done differently. And then the next week, something similar happened, and I went, okay.
Yeah.
And I paused. I took a moment. I planted. I took a breath, and I just, okay, I'm going to handle this, instead of
Right.
getting angry about it and then pulling the person responsible in and saying, you need to take care of this right now. So
So I want to go, okay, so let's go back to something you were saying earlier. We're going back to that awareness piece. So I as you were talking about it, I want to share some of the some of the ways I personally have been aware, and some people I've worked with, or friends or clients or whatnot. So I just want to throw this out there to kind of make this where everyone can see themselves in this, or at least then this might be saying a lot about me. So we're going to see if anyone else can relate to this or not. It may just be a Laura thing, the Laura, the you thing. Sometimes my awareness, especially, I would like to say, especially early on in my spiritual journey, but I don't think that's necessarily true. I think it's all throughout the journey. My original awarenesses are not always pretty. Sometimes my awarenesses, like, when Laura and I are now, and I do have some of those times now, I know Laura does as well. It's like the awareness is like, oh, wait a minute. We're all in this Zen place of like, wait, I don't, but my initial awarenesses are like, I am so sick of this feeling in my body. I'm so sick of this train of thought. I'm so tired of myself feeling helpless or disempowered or angry, or I'm so tired of myself. And that sounds really negative, but it depends on what you do with it. Like I know for me, I'm on the little more, I don't let my mother hear this. I'm a little more on the stubborn end of things. So but stubbornness is fear. This stubbornness is purely fear. That it's not strength, it's not confidence, it's absolute total anxiety and fear. And so my stubbornness was from that. But when I finally let myself feel, I'm tired of this, that was my awareness. And then what she said was, then when I became aware, and it wasn't, again, always pretty, then I was like, now what? That's the accountability part, that I now need to take accountability, that even though maybe things have happened to me, I'm now an adult now, and I do have free will, and maybe I can take accountability that I don't like the way this feels, and now I can either reach out, find someone to help me, like, or at least just within my mind, oh, that's a lot of M's. In my own mind, I can give myself some grace and love and say, I don't have to suffer like this anymore. And then move into what you were talking about, accountability, then action, ask some action step that activates a completely new, you're not on that record player anymore. I don't know. I just think I just want to reach out, say it's not always pretty at first. Awareness is not always pretty. It can be.
I love that. Just brought up to me 2 distinctive opportunities within that. But we're gonna take a quick break, Gotta take a pause, do a quick commercial from New Thought Media
Oh,
Network,
they're
and then we're
yeah.
gonna come back and talk about how to apply that in the moment or after something has happened. All right, so, and if you hear that, that's my doggy barking. So we'll be right back after this quick commercial.
Please help us say thank you to our organizational sponsors, including the Hefferland Foundation, Affiliated New Thought Network, International New Thought Alliance, Science of Mind Archives and Library Foundation, Center for Spiritual Living Denver, Center for Spiritual Living Midtown, New Thought Philadelphia, Planned Happiness Institute, Summit Center for Spiritual Living, One Heart Retreats, Center for Spiritual Living on the Lake, Unity Kitchener, Unity Spiritual Center Ottawa, Om Center for Spiritual Living, Satya Center, Begin Within Ministries, Center for Spiritual Living North Jersey, Unity of Savannah, and the Center for Spiritual Living Seattle, as well as all of our individual donors. Thank you for being part of the New Thought Media Network. Please like, share, and subscribe. New Thought Media Network, positively inspiring.
Welcome back, everyone. We have been talking about instinct, the mama bear instinct, where we're in survival mode when we're not actually in a place where we need to survive, but we're responding from a place of reaction and protection, versus discerning the difference between that and tapping into intuition. And Laura has been talking about her 3 Ps and her A's and all the ways to activate, frankly, a healthier way of tuning into your source, into yourself, into your intuition. So Laura, you mentioned, I think you had an idea about where you want to go, but I just want to kind of sum that up and talk to us. What are you thinking? I have some thoughts too, but yeah.
So what you had shared just before the quick break was when we bring our awareness to how we're feeling, and usually you had said you get to this point of, I don't like how I'm feeling anymore. So the awareness comes in usually after a pattern that we start noticing. Why do I blow up every time something similar like this happens? Why do I hide every time, something like this happens? Why do I do X every time something that resembles Y happens? And so that first awareness is like, why do I keep doing this? And I don't know if you've ever heard the expression, when people seem to date the same partner, whether it's the same guy or the same girl, it's the same place, different face.
Face.
So it's a pattern because of our instinct is, this is what I know, and behavior. And so we just keep being attracted to the same people. So there's an example of things happen. Our awareness happens when I don't like this. I don't like how this feels. I don't like how this looks. And what the heck is going on? And so it's the after, it's the when you start to notice that, this doesn't work for me. So for example, mine is the anger and the temper and the blowing up that I learned as a pattern from my dad that I did adopt because that was what I'd witnessed. And so when something would trigger me and I would have this angry outburst, noticing I don't like how it physically feels in my body.
Yeah.
That was my awareness of like, I feel tight and my stomach's all in a knot. And then the awareness of, what did I just do to the person that I just yelled at? And so then the accountability is, okay, here's the after effect on myself, on the other person. And then what would I rather have happen? What would I like instead? What responsibility am I going to take? What accountability am I going to take in this moment that might result in a different action?
Yeah.
And so that's where the activation comes in of, okay, I would rather this. So I'm going to take this different action. And so that's what I wanted to talk about, is that usually it's over time, the awareness of, oh my gosh, this is my pattern. This is the outcome. Do I want this anymore? No. Okay. So I'm going to take accountability. What can I do differently? And then with that, and then because this is the outcome I'd rather have. So then in the moment when things start happening, right? That's when more it's the 3 Ps happen in the moment.
Right.
I have the awareness that I'm triggered. My instinct happened to respond, to react. I'm going to take a pause. I'm going to take a breath. I'm going to notice. I'm going to question. And that pausing is that breath, that planting myself into this present moment instead of, as you had said earlier, Laura, going back into the past and reacting from a past instinct, a past knowing, and then I'm shifting my future, right? Or I'm not spiraling into the future. If I don't, this could happen, right? That's where the anxiety kicks in to, oh my gosh, that spiral, that holy cow, we're gonna, whatever the scenario. And so the planting is bringing ourselves back to the present. And the best way is using our physical body through breath, through touch, through noticing one of our five senses. And then the action is that pivot. All right, what am I going to do differently? And sometimes it's literally taking a physical step in a different direction, or other times it's, I'm going to say something totally different. I'm going to ask a question instead of make a statement. I'm going to, whatever in the scenario. So as Laura was inviting you to think of, what are some patterns of behavior that you have in your life that you recognize, what, that just doesn't feel good when this happens and I do that. What do I want to have different?
Right. And I love, I got another A for you.
Okay.
Because I think it's very powerful. I basically just summed up things that you were saying. Like when the awareness and the pause brings the awareness. It's all, it's all together. The moment there's that breath, that pause, and the pause brings awareness, access. In that moment, you are accessing, you have the ability and access to, and maybe it starts out sometimes subtle and you may not even know it until you practice it more. But eventually, mindfulness, awareness allows you to access, I'm sure it's not just a me thing, your soul's wisdom, your intuition, your authentic, Gary Zukav, authentic power, your authentic self. That's another A, Laura, that authentic, you can access your authentic self when there's a pause. And, Laura was using an example of relationships, and, no judgment. Everybody's had a little bit of every experience here, right? Especially the four of us combined when we're all together. We've all led very interesting and had, we went through a journey to be where we are today, and we're still on the journey. But like when we're talking about like relationships, that's a really relatable thing for a lot of people. And it may not be just romantic relationships; it can be friendships too. So if you're finding yourself in the same pattern, you just don't feel good around these people, or it ends up being toxic or abusive or just whatever it may be. The pause between relationships, the pause there, because then when you can pause, you can access and have the awareness of that the pause brings the access to what's going on here. And you may not even get an answer per se, but the willingness to be accountable for it, the willingness, even in willingness, Byron Katie talks about willingness a lot. Am I willing to see this differently? Am I willing to take a pause and look at this differently? Willingness allows you to take accountability in a really healthy way, but willingness is an action. Am I willing to see it differently? That's an action step. So we're looking, and intuition is activating, really remembering, accessing your soul's wisdom. So before, again, there's a pre-show before the show, and it's just as fun and juicy and great. But we were talking about algorithms a lot. I was a math major, believe it or not, before this. Yes, and everyone can laugh that knows that about me now. But I did like the idea of algorithms because for me, I like the idea of an answer. I love the security of something black and white. And most of the world is not black and white. And we get in trouble sometimes when we try to make it that way. But we were talking about algorithm when Laura was talking about the path. So you have variables, right? X's, Y's, Z's, whatever, the variables. And those those algorithms, those patterns can be passed down generation after generation after generation, right? And so what Laura was talking about was the anger part. So she did all of these things on her journey to become, there's somewhere, Laura, along the line, we always talk about self-worth. You must have at least had an inkling, if not a big one, of like worthy of learning and growing. You must have had some point where you gave yourself permission because somewhere inside you knew you're worthy of loving yourself or being curious about yourself. Somewhere along the lines that's probably happened. Then the moment she becomes aware, the moment there's awareness, she may not know what to do. It may be messy. It may be beautifully, like maybe in a dream. Angel may have spoken to you. Another A word. But it whatever that was, the moment she becomes aware, a new variable goes into the algorithm. And what happens when you add a new variable into an algorithm, the result, the effect, the answer is different. The pattern shifts. Right. So everything that she's talking about, awareness, accountability, action, activation, all of those things are another algorithm. So she's got four new variables, a new variable. And all of these variables will begin to shift the outcome. But some of those original variables are still there. We're not saying they're not there. It's part of what made you you. But the moment new variables come in, those old variables, those old patterns can turn into wisdom and empowerment, and where you can reach across this television screen or wherever you're watching and say, hey, I've been there too. Let me tell you what I've learned from my soul's journey and awareness in this. But again, it's all about looking at it from a place of, sometimes I'll have clients or friends, even myself, like, I just don't want to do what my mom did, or I don't want to create this, I don't want to continue this generational trauma. Like, well, already you're in here, you had awareness, you reached out to someone to help. 2 new variables in an algorithm. Guess what? The odds are in your favor that it's not going to be, because you've already shifted. You've already pivoted, like Laura talks about. You've already planted and pivoted. And even if you don't know what that's going to look like fully, wholly, you've already done an action step. That is going to be in your favor always. So it's good stuff.
Yeah, it's still figuring out how to like formulate it into, as you said, an algorithm. It's a formula, but the formula, everything that we keep talking about, it does start with awareness. And it doesn't matter if you're awareness in the moment or after this pattern has repeated itself. But then, right, what is that next action that I'm going to do? How am I going to be accountable? Is it, and sometimes it's like, I'm going to start with apologizing. I'm going to start with practicing. And we haven't thrown that in yet, but that's the 4th P, is that with all of this, it takes practice. It takes practice to be on alert to say, oh, wait a second, I'm being triggered, pausing, planting, pivoting, and then and then being able to catch yourself in the moment in the future. So instead of it being after,
Right. It can be
that,
during.
right, I have to keep apologizing. I'm going to start catching myself sooner.
Right.
So
And taking that into a bigger
I'll be
way.
right
Thank you. To be
Barking
honest,
dogs
I
just
couldn't hear.
escorted out.
Just so you know, I couldn't hear him. I never heard him bark.
Oh, okay.
No,
Sorry. I have
no, it's okay, everyone. There was a dog barking, but none of us heard it but Laura. Or did we? Or was she? But taking it bigger, the reason I use the algorithm idea, even though that seems it's really at the core of mathematics, of physics, it's very creative, actually. Even though there seems to be an answer at the end, you can put all these variables and there's creativity, but our mind has been taught to think from here. So if we take something from here and start getting logical about it, then we can begin to open up here. And what Laura is talking about is practice and presence. One of the most powerful ways, if we want to get completely outside the box, let's say you've been, and because the human mind overthinks and overthinks and overthinks and thinks and analyzes, another A, analyzes. And there's healthy analyzation and there's like torturous analyzation, right? There's a healthy awareness and there's torturous analyzation sometimes. So a way, I think about Einstein when he said, again, I paraphrase massively, but you cannot solve the same problem you can't solve a problem using the same mind that created it. So if you want to practice everything we're talking about here and having access to your soul's wisdom, to your intuition, go out in nature and be present in nature. Just look, just notice everything around you. Touch a tree. And yes, we are probably both tree huggers, but there's something to that. They knew what they were talking about. But notice, listen to the nature sounds. Even like if you're in a city, I always find it so interesting to go out into, my son lives in a kind of a noisy city, and there's music to that. There's rhythm to that at times. They're like noticing all the things that are out there. But again, make it simple. Get some watercolors. Pay attention to just have fun with how that purple and the blue with the water mixes in and what happens. You're being present in something that takes you out of here and gets you in here. It gets you to feel or to notice that beautiful flower. It'll bring out in nature and pay attention where all your senses are. What do I hear? What do I feel? What do I see? What do I smell? When I was little, I was like, what does bark taste like? So I tasted it. It tastes exactly the way you think it would. But again, it's being present, practicing presence outside of your own head. Out here, this is such a divine, rich, everything we need is here. If we just pay attention to it, that in itself, I think it was Stuart Wilde. He wrote The Infinite Self, and he would talk about those things. He would if you just do something different within your day. For instance, he would talk about, I believe it was The Infinite Self, I think. And some of his writings are a little bit controversial. The Infinite Self is not controversial, I don't believe. It's based on the Tao. He and Wayne Dyer, to me, are the expert writers of the Tao. But he was like, let's say if you go into the grocery store and you do the same thing every time. He said, why if you shake it up a little bit, become present, because that's the way you can get out of survival mind, is you shake things up. And why don't you start on another side of the grocery store and see what happens? And you probably be very uncomfortable. But he's like, so what? You survived it. Your brain is now getting the message that we don't have to do the same patterns over and over again. So even being present in a different way in the grocery store, when you're in the moment of triggering, the odds of you practicing this in the moment are going to increase greatly when you are out here in the world in a present way. So that's my last thought about that.
Well, that's perfect, because I was thinking let's kind of bring it all back together, wrap it up in a bow. So we started out
talking, Laura.
It did. Talking about the difference between intuition, instinct, our survival brain, the patterns that we have that are designed to keep us safe, and most of them are fabulous. And at the core, they all are fabulous, right? They are designed to keep us safe. Where we want to question is that instinctive behavior, does it warrant the situation now?
Correct.
And the way that we begin to question is to pay attention to our intuition. What is our physical body, not our instant reaction, which is our reptile brain, our survival brain, our saboteur brain. What is our body really telling us? And so we talked about the algorithm is first the awareness, right? The awareness, and the awareness sometimes comes after, wow, I just really overreacted. I wonder why. And then taking the accountability of, is that really how I want to behave? Are these the outcomes I still want to be having? And then the action, what is the action that I want to take in the future? And then when we're in it, what we talked about is using the 3 Ps.
That's
which
right.
is, okay, I'm noticing the awareness that I am triggered. So I'm going to pause. And my pausing is take a breath, connect to my physical body. That is going to ground me. And so the pausing, the next step is the planting. I put my hand on my heart. I take a breath. It's becoming present to the moment. Pause, plant, being present. And then what do I want to do different? Right. And so that's what we talked about in the A's. When you're in it in the moment, now you have access to your sage brain. You have access to the wisdom inside of you that is not the fight or flight survival brain. And so now from that access point, I'm here. What am I going to do differently? I'm going to pivot. I'm going to do something that is not my normal behavior. So that's what I give my clients to remember quickly is the pause, plant, and pivot. But it goes back to the algorithm of the awareness, the accountability, that now I have access to a deeper part of me. What's the activation that's going to happen that results in an action that, as Laura loves to say, then I have a different outcome. So, wow, the algorithm just changed, so I have a different outcome.
Beautifully said.
So that's what we've been talking about for the last 50 minutes.
That was beautifully, beautifully, beautifully said. I am going to get this recording and I'm going to take notes on the last part that you said. That was brilliant. Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you.
And the only other thing, go ahead.
No, you wrap up.
The only thing I was going to add is just because we do need to wrap up. Oh, now I heard him. Is he's saying it's time to go, Mom, is that sometimes that action step or that pivot is sometimes the choice made to be do nothing at all. Where you may have the type A's, raise your hand if you're a type A, me. The type A's sometimes get uncomfortable with not a big whole action step, but sometimes the pause needs to take a longer than just the first breath. Sometimes we just need to not do anything. So again, that's where all these opportunities are there. Thank you all. This was wonderful. And I love having these conversations, and then it gives me things to think about. Again, like I said, I'm going to record some of these later. So if you want to find Laura, Laura has this phenomenal coaching practice. So there she is, information, radiantjoycoaching.com. It is Radiant Joy. It is, you begin to access, here we go. Access is a big word for you, I think, Laura. Access your authentic self. And that's what Laura is, she lives what she believes, and she's vulnerable about it. We all are. and she's not just saying this from reading it in a book, she's lived it, and now she's paying it forward. And I think that is one of the most beautiful things about practitioners like Laura. The rest of us, the other two that are not here, we are part of the Star School of Inner Wisdom, and it's really the same thing. The heart is the same. It's about accessing your internal wisdom, your soul's wisdom, knowing that you are your own inner guru. And we all are practitioners within this. But we have a community. We support other practitioners. We support people that are new on the journey, been on the journey for a while. It is a community of people coming together and having conversations. A lot of things we do in the Charlotte area of North Carolina, but we do a lot of things through Zoom, and we're expanding our community a little bit at a time. So thank you for being here. It's all love is the truth of who we all are, and it truly is heart to heart, soul to soul. I know I always leave with that. And so New Thought Media, if you want to share a little bit about that. By the way, I purposely brought my, you can't use backwards, Unity Village cup today. But if you want to share about that, Laura, and thank you so much, everybody.
Yeah, I hit the wrong banner. I just want to say, if you wanted to connect with us, you could connect at itsallove.com. And I did want to say, you don't take a breath sometimes, Laura. When you were thanking everyone for being here, Wayne was here and offered a couple of comments. So I just want to say thank you, Wayne, if you're still watching, for joining us and commenting and supporting. And yes, we are part of New Thought Media Network, which is a global broadcast network of positive music, media, and entertainment, here to serve and support you with programs like this, with prayer, with programs on health, wealth, your uniqueness, relationships. There's programs on the divine teachings of the divine science. We have teachings on Saturday on the science of mind. And then we have services and messages from all different kinds of organizations that are under the umbrella of New Thought, all here to help you in your human experience on your spiritual awareness journey of life. And I love to say, of learning how to really access all that life has to offer, to live your best life, because we really only have one in the form that we're in. So how do we live our best life? How do we have the most peace and share the most love and have the most joy and really be fully present? And that's what I love about New Thought Media Network, is there's so many different speakers.
There's something for everyone.
There's something for you to help you. And this week it might be the Joy Show, the Just One You Show, or It's All Love Show. Or maybe on Saturday you show up and learn about the foundations of the science of mind, which the whole teaching is based on the premise there's a power in the universe and you can use it. And really, it is using you. It is operating and living through you. So anyway, all of that to say, there's so much here to serve and support you. And if any of our programs are supporting you and you want to participate in the law of giving and receiving, we welcome your donations on our website. There's ntmedia.org/donate. Okay.
Fantastic. I look at New Thought Media as like PBS. It is to me, it's the spiritual version of PBS. And we all know that, it takes a village. So, yeah.
It takes a village. So thank you for joining, and good luck with playing with your awareness, your accountability, your activation. And then in the moment, remember the 3 Ps: pause, plant, and pivot. And we hope to see you next week. Same time, 4 o'clock Mountain, 6 o'clock Eastern. It's all love. Thanks so much.
On behalf of everyone at New Thought Media Network, thank you for being a member of our virtual family. Your financial contributions help share the New Thought message with people from around the world. Please visit and contribute at www.ntmedia.org/donate. New Thought Media Network. Come be you. And please like, share, and subscribe. Until next time, peace and blessings.